Oh. 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 Jitatmana prashantasya. For the one whose purpose is peace, prashanta, then we know that purpose pulls performance. How will they live? Jitatmana. They will direct themselves to that peace. Paramatma samahitaha. They have lived in a balanced way, and now they don't need balance because they have identified with their center. The center doesn't need to be balanced. Only when we are off center do we need to practice balance. A framework to show us how we've become off center and how we will become centered. Our default is to be swartha. Swartha means the only purpose is swa, in English, selfishness. I think about myself, I speak about myself, I act for myself. The one who's practicing being centered evolves to sadhutva. Sadhutva, they live in a noble way, inclusive way. That is selflessness. From selfish to selfless. More centered, shuddha. All they do is to purify the mind, become more balanced, focused. This evolves to sannyasa, which is to disidentify from what I am not. And the completion of all of this is swarupa. Swarupa is not a verb like we know verbs to be. Purify, disidentify. Swarupa means be. Be who you always were, always will be. To come out of swartha, our Veda teaches us we have to come out of the karma kanda. It is when we start to taste the jnana kanda, the portion that teaches us about who we are, that we start to become selfless. The more you know who you are, the more you will know others and the unity between you and them. Bhagavad Gita is the Jnana Kanda. Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tata manapamanayoho. Heat and cold, that is physical. Pleasure and pain, mental. Respect and disrespect, that is intellectual. all of this is happening to the BMI. But one who has lived the divine life, they know they're the Om, they're not the Vasana. If one identifies with the Vasana, they will feel what the BMI is going through. But if one is disidentified from the Vasana, the BMI can go through whatever it wants. It will not affect one. Final thought from verse 7. Shri Krishna, Pujaswami Chinmayananda, is encouraging us to live a divine life of purity and clarity. Why we don't fulfill this divine life, why we don't reach the ends, is because we cannot appreciate the returns that come from such a divine life. The more pure we are, the more clear we are about the returns. Here, the returns are being shared. All of the difficulties at the body, mind, and intellect level, we will become immune to that. When we don't appreciate the returns, we compromise then. We do evolve, but this journey to joy is not casual, that I just want to be a little bit happier. Our potential is to be independently joyous. So whatever noise there is in your lifestyle, in your vision, quieten it. Because finally we have to feel silence. The return is being shared in verse 7, 8, 9. In 7, it's becoming immune to circumstances. In 8, it relates to articles. Jnana vijnana triptatma kutasto vichitendriyaha yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshtashma kanchanaha. First quarter. Triptatma, the one who is satisfied, the one whose seeking has ended. In what? Jnana has evolved to vijnana, knowledge to wisdom. Whenever the words jnana and vijnana are used, probably side by side, jnana means knowing who you are. Then vijnana will mean being who you are. There is a difference. Knowing patience is a virtue and being patient are different. So one is being Atma. This is what is unique about a subjective science. What Bhagavad Gita is, what the Jnana Kanda is. Whatever you're knowing, you're becoming that. That is not possible with an objective science. You can have an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, a PhD degree in electrical engineering. You don't become electricity. It will always be different than you. So you'll never be triptatma. We'll always be seeking. There's no end. I often share with those who are in school. I was in school for 18 years and still didn't feel complete. I went to the ashram for 2 years and instantly felt complete. Because it went from jnana to vijnana. That's a good investment, no? That's why when kids are 6 years old, they should go to the Gurukula. Get the vijnana first, then all of the jnana can come. Kutasta vijitendriyaha. They are being the kutasta. Show me with your hands what a kutasta is. Kutasta means anvil. I don't know how you show that, right? Here's my anvil. The only anvil we know happens in like movies with Lord of the Rings or Wile E. Coyote. The idea behind an anvil is that it never changes. All on top of that anvil changes, but the anvil doesn't. I don't think I've ever seen an anvil. I'm only using movies and cartoons as my reference. And so, Vijitindriyaha, they are the ones who direct their equipments. Their equipments don't direct them. This is the translation. Here is the application. When one is being the foundation, existence, awareness, joy, they have nothing to gain. That's why they're directing the equipments. If I'm not being existence, awareness, joy, I'm going to try to create joy, then my senses control me. And a further application of this, if you have nothing to gain, you have nothing to lose. That is living the divine life, where you have nothing to lose. Coming back to Kutasta, any example that Shri Krishna uses, he's using examples from our world, like an anvil. Anything in our world is finite. So whenever such comparisons are being made, please reflect on them. It is just an example. You cannot say Brahman or infinity is an anvil. Only when you reflect on this does this become more applicable. Yukta iti uchate yogi. The one who's being like this, that person has completed yoga, they are a yogi. That's the translation, our application. Yoga is for those who are sensitive. Sensitive to the fall in their potential, and so sensitive that they can lift themselves up to their potential. And so Bhagavad Gita becomes the most important mirror to look at. Because Bhagavad Gita encourages honesty. This is who I am today. I have fallen from my potential. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. But throughout Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna keeps sharing who we are foundationally, what our potential is. So as many minutes as you look in the mirror, whatever you do in terms of grooming, times 10 should be you're looking into Bhagavad Gita. The yogi described here is one who has completed yoga. Yoga as a means, they've reached the ends. They do not need yoga anymore. They've completed yoga, so they feel complete. Then what? Sama. There is an equality for them between what? Loshta. Loshta means earth, a clod of earth. Ashma. Ashma means rocks, a stone. And Kanchana, I forgot the translation. Can you tell me what Kanchana is? I bet you a lot of you are wearing this right now. See? Gold. That's right. For the one who's complete, earth, like imagine a handful of soil, a handful of stones, and a handful of gold jewelry. It is all the same to them. They have nothing to gain, nothing to lose. When one is experiencing the fundamental, what is the fundamental amongst earth, stone, and gold? Existence. Because they're experiencing this, they have clarity about the functionality of all of this. They know gold is worth more in the world, but that gold cannot create joy. Last thought. Today's International Women's Day. I was reading a report on pay inequality between women and men in Canada in 2021. Think about how far we've come in time. Still, a woman is paid 77% of what a man is paid. That means a woman has to work 16 months to earn the same as a man would earn in 12 months. Continuing with this thought. In Ukraine, 1.7 million people have had to escape their home in a week, and the majority of them are women. We can celebrate International Women's Day a lot in terms of name, but in terms of guna or quality, much improvement is needed. When I think of International Women's Day, I think of Raja Prithu. He loved the earth so much that the earth became his putri, which means daughter. And that's why our earth is called Prithvi. He shared the way that humanity should live. Please note this. Those who are more capable, those who are privileged like us, what should be shared? Rakshita. That means to protect. Vrittida, which means to provide. And the third is stapita, which means to progress. For us to fundamentally celebrate International Women's Day, what should we be doing? We should be protecting, providing, and progressing our individual devis. For Vivek, in a micro sense, my grandmother, my mother, my sisters, my wife, my niece. And our collective devi, which is our Prithvi. To protect her, to provide for her, to progress her. Then this will not just be a name, this will actually be a movement. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh. Oh. the more one lives in a shallow way, the more one will be imbalanced. The more one lives in a deep, divine way, the more one will be balanced. Loshta, mud. Ashma, stone. Kanchana, gold. They all have a different nama, that is, names. They all have different rupas. That means forms. Reflect, though. There's less difference between names and forms. More differences in names, less differences in forms. Often mud and stones are mixed together. More deeply is guna, or quality. Mud, stone, gold. They all have the same quality, which essentially is they are all earth. They come from the earth, they go back to the earth. And the most deep, the kutastha vision, foundationally, which one calls Dhamma, they are all existence. The shallow life is a life of sight, where one just sees names and forms. The divine life is one of vision. One knows and sees. Knowing and seeing is vision. the visionary know every experience or circumstance, hot, cold, pleasure, pain, respect, disrespect, every article, mud, stone, gold, the foundation for all is existence. And you are existence. If you are existence and gold is existence, then why do you have to live for gold? If you are existence and the circumstance that is disrespect is also founded on existence, why do you have to escape from this? Contemplation is a perpetual preparation. A summary word for this is Shuddha. Purify. And this is completed one engages in the process of contemplation. The summary word for this, sannyasa. To disidentify from the finite sense of I, the rupa. And if there's a disidentification, there's also a identification with the infinite I, the swarupa. Which is being. Just be. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.